This is Channel 2 News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Bill O'Reilly.
And I'm Tracy Berry. Ron Carlson will have sports and Jeff Gianola the weather.
Here's the latest straight up at 11 tonight. California state officials now say the watermelon poisonings here in the West are the result of deliberate misuse of chemicals. Here in Oregon, all watermelons on grocery store shelves are being destroyed, at least until a new inspection program is underway. 200 people became ill after eating tainted watermelon, and now authorities in California say the use of the pesticide Temic was intentional, even though Temic is not approved for use on watermelons.
Here to tell you right now that I will not sleep until I find those growers, and I'm going to use all the police power that I have in my power to put them away.
Inspectors will be out in California fields determining if there are any traces of the pesticide. Watermelons from the fields that aren't tainted will carry a sticker. A similar program will be used here in Oregon. And watermelons will probably be off your store shelves until next week.
Well, watermelon growers in Oregon tonight learned of the state's plans to test their fields. They are confident the local melons are free of pesticides and think their watermelons may even sell better because of the recall. Jim Hyde has the story from Hermiston.
Yeah, that'll make it, as long as you get good.
These Oregon watermelons are still about 2 weeks away from market size, if there is a market for them. That's been the question for the last week here in Umatilla County, where most of Oregon's more than 1,000 acres of watermelons are growing.
For watermelons, we never have used it. Nobody has. We don't use a insecticide in watermelons.
All the watermelon growers at this meeting agree that the Oregon melons are safe. Representatives of the State Department of Agriculture are here to explain how they'll test to certify the melons are okay. And fruit brokers have come to discuss ways to reassure the wholesaler and the grocery shopper.
Well, we expect to start tomorrow sampling soil. And if we can run from 10 to 15 samples a day, we'd probably composite the samples and probably get maybe 20 per field, depending on the size of the field. Composite those. If they show nothing, probably don't have to go much further.
And every load would go with a trip certificate wherever it's going, into Canada or into Montana or anyplace else.
The Agriculture Department has offered to supply stickers similar to these for each watermelon. It'll cost growers some extra time and money to apply them, but if it saves the market for his melons, Farmer Bob Kenny is all for the idea.
That's all I do. I raise watermelons for a living. I've never diversified. I like raising melons, and my family's got over 50 years experience raising them, so...
But you must have had some anxious moments last week.
Yeah, my blood pressure's been up a little bit.
From the last week of July until Labor Day, pickers will be busy trying to get every ripe melon to market, a market which now looks bigger because of the recall.
I think it's created a vacuum in the market. I don't think we're going to have enough melons to furnish a fourth of the market, to be truthful with you.
Oregon growers say the sandy soil of Umatilla County produces the sweetest watermelons anywhere, and they hope the present crisis might help more people to get that message. Indeed, as long as the ban continues, the demand for these Oregon watermelons could grow when the harvest begins here in a couple of weeks. Near Hermiston, Oregon, Jim Hyde, Channel 2 News.
In other news tonight, 2 Portland policemen are now on desk duty following a shootout that left 2 people dead. The incident began Friday night after a former mental patient started firing shots in his northeast Portland neighborhood. Police surrounded the house where 37-year-old Thomas Graves was holed up. Also inside the house, 86-year-old Alberta Tate. Officer Keith Hattori accidentally shot the woman when she tried to leave her home. Mrs. Tate bled to death.
At this point, it appears that there's been no Bureau policies and procedures violated.
Police Chief Harrington is apparently satisfied the officers involved acted correctly during the standoff. Nevertheless, Patrolman Hattori and Patrolman Larry Wooten, who shot and killed the suspect, have been reassigned to the Personnel Department. Both of the victims were black, and some people are accusing the police of racism.
If this incident occurred in the West Hills, in a white neighborhood, would police have handled it differently?
Absolutely not.
Results of the police investigation into the incident will now be sent to a grand jury.
In Eugene, jurors are still listening to testimony in the death penalty phase of the Benny Chaffin trial. Today, his sister told the jury that she and her brother had been beaten by an alcoholic stepfather and that Chaffin is an alcoholic who turns violent when he drinks. He was convicted last month of the rape, kidnap, and murder of a 9-year-old Springfield girl. Here in Portland, the man charged with gunning down his former psychiatrist was in court for his arraignment today. John Earl Eaton is accused of walking into the office of Dr. Michael McCulloch and shooting him with a shotgun. Eaton today entered a plea of not guilty to that charge. Eaton was a former patient of McCulloch's and he has a history of mental disorders.
Still on crime in Calgary, Canada, Charles Ang has been found fit to stand trial after a mental exam. Ang is wanted for questioning in the murder of perhaps 24 people in California. Police say he is seen on videotape torturing a woman, and he is tied into the sex killings in Calaveras County, California. That's the case where Leonard Lake committed suicide after authorities found bodies on his property. Ang was caught in a shootout in Calgary. His lawyers up there are fighting his extradition to the States.
At least 8 people are dead and dozens more injured after an express train going 100 miles an hour crashed into a tractor-trailer in northern France today. The train was packed with tourists on their way to Paris when the wreck occurred. Witnesses say the driver of the tractor rig was stuck on the tracks and was frantically trying to break through the barrier when the train hit. The U.S. Embassy in Paris says 5 Americans were among the injured, including Gary Smith from Anacortes, Washington.
It was damn, why is this happening to our vacation? Why is this happening now?
The train finally stopped when it crashed into a house along the tracks. No one in the home was injured. And investigators say a broken rail apparently was the cause of an Amtrak train derailment in northern Idaho. About 70 people were injured when the Empire Builder went off the tracks early Sunday. Most of the injured were treated and released. Only 11 remain hospitalized. The derailment was the second of the year for Amtrak. The first occurred in April in California.
Well, fires are still causing plenty of problems in California tonight. The latest hotspot, the town of San Luis Obispo on the central California coast. A brush fire there has burned 60,000 acres, destroyed 3 homes, and sent 10,000 people fleeing. This is just the latest in a series of fires that has played havoc with the state. More than 1 million acres of land have been destroyed in the past month. And here in Oregon, fire is causing some problems, but none as serious as in California. At least 40 fires are burning right now throughout the state, most of them in the southeast corner of Oregon. 12 rookie firefighters are back in the job in Portland tonight. The recruits were laid off 3 months ago because of a budget shortfall. But after some financial reshuffling, the city came up with $1 million needed to keep the rookies and 22 others on the payroll.
We're thrilled to death to be back. It was something that almost every one of us, I can't think of a single one of us, really have not wanted to do our entire life. We've really wanted to do this type of work. It's very enjoyable and satisfying. Some of us took a heck of a cut in income to, in fact, to be able to do it. And thank God every day that we're back on, and I hope things work out so that our future can be steady and something we can count on for our family and for our sake.
The budget issue comes up again in January. That's when the recruits will find out if there is indeed enough money to find them permanent jobs with the Fire Bureau.
A controversial book about an unmarried woman who wants to have a baby will remain on the shelves in the Evergreen School District in Clark County, Washington. The book is called Don't Tell Me Your Name by Hollis Hodges. Some parents complain that the book is sexually explicit and they wanted it removed from a junior high school library. Tonight, the Evergreen School Board met to decide its fate.
I can't stop him from reading the worst smut in the world, but I don't see using taxpayer money to put it in here where students can read.
Don't Tell Me Your Name is a book which allows students to make a choice. Because of the mature nature of the book, it may not be suitable for all junior high students. However, it needs to remain on the shelf at Covington.
In the end, the board voted 4-1 to keep the book at the junior high level.
Still a lot more to come tonight on Channel 2 News. Controversy in the American Legion as a woman who used to be a man tries to take command of her local post. That story when we come right back.
More tough talk from the president today on terrorism. Reagan naming a hit list of nations that he called a new version of Murder Incorporated. In a blistering speech before the American Bar Association, he accused Iran, Libya, Cuba, North Korea, and Nicaragua of being engaged in acts of war against America. He says when it comes to those countries, the United States has the right of self-defense.
So the American people are not, I repeat, not going to tolerate intimidation, terror, and outright acts of war against this nation and its people. And we're especially not going to tolerate these attacks from outlaw states run by the strangest collection of misfits, Looney Tunes, and squalid criminals since the advent of the Third Reich.
Analysts say the president is laying out what may be a legal justification for U.S. action against terrorists. Bill?
Here is an interesting statistic. It cost taxpayers more than $40 million last year to pay malpractice claims against the military. But that figure may be nothing compared to what it could cost this year. Tim Hillard with the story.
On any given day, some 750 people are getting care at Madigan Hospital. Nationally last year, some 663,000 occupied military hospital beds. 854 of those patients wound up suing their doctors. Only 331 actually won their suits. Their claims totaled over $41 million in 1984. The year before, 279 patients won over $33 million. In 1982, 273 patients got nearly $29 million. Each year, both the numbers of people suing and the money they get has increased. 1985 will be no exception. So far this year, Madigan Hospital alone has been ordered to pay $16.7 million in malpractice suits. That's almost half of all the claims paid by the entire military in all of last year. The figures sound pretty bad, especially when one considers that we as taxpayers are paying for it all. But you should know the track record for private doctors in private hospitals is far worse. For every 100 doctors in private practice this year, 16 can expect to have malpractice suits filed against them. That's more than double what the military expects. There is one major difference. A large chunk of military patients can't sue their doctors. By law, those on active military duty are barred from seeking damages from the government. But here in Washington, D.C., Congress is now thinking of allowing such suits. For military doctors, that undoubtedly will mean more malpractice claims, and for taxpayers, more malpractice bills. In Washington, D.C., Tim Hillard, Channel 2 News.
This next item could be the story of the night. A 3-year-old girl in Los Angeles is suing a hair salon, claiming it discriminates against little girls. Yael Miller says her mother paid $12 to get her hair cut, but only $10 to get her brother's hair sheared. The cutting was done at the Yellow Balloon Hair Salon, and the boy's cut took longer than the girl's. So Yael is suing to try to get those prices the same. So there.
And in London, Connecticut, a transsexual has lost her bid to become commander of her local American Legion post. Bridget Poi is a decorated veteran of the Korean War. The 50-year-old Poi underwent a sex change operation 12 years ago. She campaigned on her ability to recruit more Vietnam War vets into the post, but Poi lost out to the incumbent commander by a vote of 25-13. Poi says she's not disappointed because the election brought attention to the issue of sex changes, and she plans to make another run for the job next year. And still to come on Channel 2 News, Jeff Gianola will tell us how hot it's going to get tomorrow, and the hottest woman in rock is about to bear all. The story when we come back. Okay, so it's hot. So what's new, huh, Jeff? You got the wading pool out for little Alexandra? Or?
Yeah, boy, and it's I'm going to hop in there with her because I tell you what, we've got 17 minutes before a new day starts, and we're lucky to be up this late, Bill and Tracy.
Oh, we knew we were.
We are. And I'm going to tell you why, because this is about the nicest temperature that we've had all day, because currently outside we're in the mid-70s. Let's check on that. 75 degrees outside. Now there's the barometer and the humidity and the freezing level and the winds out of the northwest at 6 miles an hour. How hot did it get? Well, around 5:30 this afternoon we hit a high of 91 degrees in the Portland area, overnight low of 62. You might have a little trouble sleeping tonight because it's going to be hot out. So far, we've had 31 dry days in a row. Now, I do want to say currently the airport is reporting a little thunderstorm. We've had a lot of weather watchers call in the eastern sections saying that as they look up towards the mountains, they see some thunder and lightning. And we predicted that we are going to have a little bit of that activity over the next 2 days in the mountains and in sections of eastern Oregon. Now, 9 o'clock, our sunset. Let's take a look at the temperatures. And once again, some lightning reported and thunder in the foothills of the Cascades and in the Cascades, also in the Baker area around 5 o'clock. Boy, they had a pretty good one out that way. Dumped a little rain. Cascade Locks reported a little rain, about 0.2 of an inch. 98 degrees at the Dalles. Look at all these warm temperatures throughout the northwest. In the hundreds in eastern Oregon. Pendleton, 90 degrees. I don't want to take a look at radar, so I'm going to tell the computer to go ahead and skip the next thing, but let's go into Washington because the radar picture we had was a little some interference there, and it didn't show up very well. But here's the way things shaped up in Washington: 87 Seattle, 90 in Olympia, 90 Vancouver, and Walla Walla 109 degrees. And the best friend of a weatherman is an obedient computer. Now let's take a look at temperatures from around the country and look at these new records that were set today. These are just a few of the cities. There were over a dozen cities, but look at Seattle tied a record. Lewiston, Idaho, 104. Phoenix, 115, and Goodland, Kansas, 105. So these are just some of the records. Very hot weather across a wide portion of the country, not just here in the Northwest. Let's take a look at some satellite pictures now. Here's the latest one right here. Clear skies over Oregon. Now here's where we're picking up a few light little thunder showers. And right around here, right on the foothills of the Cascades, you can see that. Here's the area that brought the thunder showers to the northeastern section of the state. That's now moving into Idaho. You can see that right there. But generally, another nice, hot day tomorrow. My advice, get a wading pool and just stick your head or feet in it and stay there all day. Let's go to the coast for the forecast. Out on the coast, sunny tomorrow with a few areas of morning fog. Temperatures generally about 71 degrees at Tillamook. West of the Cascades, sunny and downright hot tomorrow. Look at Medford, 99 degrees. Up in the mountains, sunny and warm tomorrow. Once again, we do have a few isolated thunderstorms tonight, and that'll be the same case tomorrow. In the Gorge, sunny and hot tomorrow. A few isolated thunderstorms tonight. East of the mountains, sunny and hot. We had a few isolated thunderstorms, the same tomorrow. And Portland, Vancouver, thunderstorms near the foothills tonight. But sunny and hot again tomorrow. We'll go for a high, oh my, of 92 degrees. And you don't even have a chance to cool off. It's only 75 outside right now. So I don't know what. I probably will go in there, sleep in the refrigerator tonight.
And Bill's going to stick his head in the waiting pool.
You're not going to sleep in the refrigerator. Don't believe him. He's not going to go home, put on the air conditioner, and just sack out. Come on, you're an affluent guy.
No,
you'll have someone fan you, some servant, because I know you have servants. Okay. Thanks, Jeff. In our People segment tonight, singer Madonna may not be the material girl after all. Apparently, Penthouse magazine has some pictures of Madonna wearing no material whatsoever. Good old Bob Guccione, everybody's favorite, says he will publish 17 pages of Madonna with no clothes on. The photographer who took some of the pictures is suing Guccione, saying he didn't give his permission to have the shots published. Madonna herself isn't talking, but her press agent acknowledges the singer did pose nude for art classes when she was a teenager. Someone who has seen the pictures says they are, quote, in good taste, unquote. Yeah. And rock singer Billy Joel plans to donate the profits from his new record to help suicidal teenagers. Joel says he almost committed suicide as a kid, and now he wants to help organizations that are involved in suicide prevention. Okay, from Madonna, from the rock world.
There's the segue test of the world from Billy Joel suicide into sports. Now,
yeah, there is no. Well, I was going to kill myself if that game went any longer tonight.
There we
How about
go.
that?
That's pretty good. That's pretty
3
good.
hours and 20. Tracy and I watched the whole game every game, and we had a little scorecard, but it was a little long.
Yet? I think that was
We
loved it.
Wouldn't you say?
You loved it?
Yeah.
Keep up the wisecracks. We'll make it longer next week. How about that? 16 innings next week. Would you like that?
Wasn't it a little long? Even for a fanatic like you?
A little long, you're right. In sports tonight, Portland's Dale Murphy pulls farther in front in the National League Home Run Derby, and an old veteran gets another chance. We'll pitch Sports Your Way in just a few minutes. At 12 games out of first place, the Atlanta Braves aren't exactly having a banner season, so you could imagine where they'd be this year without Dale Murphy. The Portland native, one of the few raving Braves this year, hit his league-leading 21st ball over the wall against the Expos tonight. Now, this blast helped the Braves get past Montreal. They beat them by a score of 7-1, and it helped break a 5-game losing streak. And boy, fans, you better enjoy standing up while you can. It hasn't been often this year. In Pittsburgh, Dodgers Steve Sachs bags a base hit to put the Dodgers ahead, but along with playing baseball, Sachs plays a little pickleball here. Bill Madlock with the padlock on Sachs. He runs right at him. The Pirates eventually put the tag on the bag man, but Sachs and the Dodgers win the game. Now, the old shock absorber test in Houston tonight in the Astrodome. Mike Schmidt hits a long ball toward the wall. Watch Ty Gainey perform the spring test on the center field fence. Some bends, but no dents, and no ball either. The Phillies score. And in St. Louis, the runaway choice for National League Rookie of the Year, Vince Coleman, runs his way into a rundown here. The Giants take turns trying to catch him. Coleman finally gets pickled. Come on, you guys, catch up with him, will you? There we go, finally. But the Giants get dwarfed again, losing to the Cards. Now to the scoreboard for the Braves win a 7-hitter for Rick Mailer. Fernando Valenzuela wins his 9th game. Jose De Leon loses his 12th. Former Beaver Rick Shue has 3 hits in the Phils win. Joaquin Andujar is on par for his 15th win. The Mets get the Reds. Pete Rose gets 1 hit, and the Cubs and Padres split. It would have been a great night to have a seat in Section 505 at Tiger Stadium tonight. Carlton Fisk shows you why on this swing. He aims it straight for Section 505, and the bleacher feature is a ball for a fan and a 1-0 lead for Chicago. But Tiger Larry Herndon has a plan for that same fan. He puts another ball over the same part of the wall. What a night. In Section 505, the White Sox get another homer from Fisk, a grand slam to beat the Tigers. I don't know if it ended in 505 or not. Yankee Phil Niekro moves ahead of Bob Gibson to take 8th place on the all-time strikeout list, but the Yankees lose. Neil Heaton shuts out Texas. As many of you saw on Monday Night Baseball, the Angels drew Milwaukee in extra bars. And an extra inning win for the Twins. The Red Sox amaze the A's, and Dave Stieb lowers his league-leading ERA even farther, whitewashing Seattle. Well, the California Angels didn't think he could pitch anymore, but it looks like the Oakland A's may disagree. Oakland announcing late today they will give Tommy John a chance to make their ball club during a workout. The A's stopped short of saying the veteran left-hander had signed with the team, saying some administrative details needed to be worked out. The 42-year-old John, who was released by California on June 14th after compiling a 2-win, 4-loss record, is looking forward to the challenge.
I've started for 21 years. I pitched out of the bullpen a few times, but I think my strengths lie as a starter. I think I can pitch out of the bullpen and help the team out between starts, but I think my strengths are starting.
And in the Pacific Coast League tonight, the Beavers broke a 6-game losing streak. They beat Albuquerque by a score of 7-6.
As Tracy just pointed out, Joaquin Andujar could win 30 games this year.
He could.
That's right.
I wasn't really keeping count. I just know those things in my head.
Yeah, knowing it's almost halfway through the season.
Being such a sports nut
Good
that
job,
I am.
Good job.
Thanks, Ron.
You're welcome.
We have some other local news tonight. Fatalities are up overall on Oregon highways, but the number of alcohol-related traffic deaths are down. A new study is taking a look at the tough new Oregon drunk driving law. That law provides strict penalties for driving under the influence. Statistics show that drunk driving arrests dropped 14% in the first 6 months since the law was in effect. Authorities say the higher fatality figures are the result of more people driving too fast.
More taxes on the way in Oregon. Governor Atiyeh signed a tax increase today. The average family of 4 with an income of $25,000 would pay $77 a year more in state income tax. But Gary Marks of Portland is trying to stop that hike. His group needs 41,000 signatures to refer the tax boost to the voters. Gary has until September 20th to get those signatures, so you might be hearing from him. And coming up next on Channel 2 News, meet the man with the $1 million magic touch. He's a popular guy these days, and we'll have that right after these announcements of interest.
But
An Oregon farmer has become an instant celebrity and an instant multi-millionaire after cracking that huge lottery jackpot of $7.4 million. Dick Anderson reaped the biggest harvest ever this Saturday, and he says he just knew he was going to win. So how do you keep them down on the farm in Canby after they've become a multi-millionaire? Anderson says that's not a problem because now the farm will be his. One of his first payouts from the initial $298,000 check will take care of the mortgage.
I like farming. I mean, I just wish, there was more money in it. Of course, if you don't owe anything, farming can be pretty profitable.
No doubt. Anderson says he also plans to buy some new tractors and pickups, and why not? Maybe another farm.
Well, I like Dick, and I'm glad he won. You know why?
Why?
They told him to wear a tie and jacket to the little lottery.
Wouldn't do it.
Wouldn't do it. Showed up in a little sweater and shirt. Way to go, Dick. Glad you won.
Knew he was going to
Enjoy
win.
the loot.
That's right.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.
Good night.